Hey there, Facebook. This is Nancy Sabino. You are currently seeing Paul Cannon as we are coming to you live. And we're trying to just talk about, I should stop and introduce myself first. The voice you are hearing is me, Nancy Sabino, CEO and co-founder of SabinoCompTech. We are wanting to just share with you the experience of a law firm going through the quick change of going from office to working from home and how that affected the law firm within itself, as well as what the challenges were and so on and so forth. So Paul, what were some of the challenges? First intro, and then you can answer that question.
All right. Well, again, my name is Paul Cannon. I'm an attorney with Simmons and Fletcher, and of course, we had to make a big transition ourselves because we were not going to close our doors to our clients or to potential future clients. So we had to figure out a way to deal with this. We were, I guess, got a little bit of an awakening when they said, "Hey, we're social distancing is coming about," before they actually made it a full-blown stay-at-home order. And that kind of gave us our awakening that made us go, okay, we better get ready because we need to be able to communicate with clients in a way that we don't have to be there. We were partially prepared for something like this in the fact that we had already started doing virtual signups where we send our contracts out and people could literally read and sign the entire contract right there on a smartphone with their finger and didn't have to come in to sign the documents. They could produce whatever we needed to see either by mail or email, and we could conduct entire interviews. We just wanted to have kind of a face-to-face aspect because there's still a lot of people who really just want to meet you and see you and size you up face-to-face, and that's just, understandable. I like putting it in the face. So
I'm sure it's, when it comes to what you guys do and how the clientele that you guys work with, that's very important since they're working through an accident or an injury of some sort. And so seeing you guys face to face, whereas they're dealing with the insurance or anything like that remotely, it's better to, it inspires trust, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and I find that every person is different. A lot of times people with different types of accidents, some of them see it as a minor inconvenience and they're not that concerned with wanting to come in and meet with you. They feel like they just want the process taken off their hands in the quickest, easiest way possible. But then there's a lot of people that their lives have truly been disrupted and they really want to make sure that whoever they hire to represent them, they trust, they feel comfortable with, they have a personal relationship with. And so they want to, put a face to a name. And that makes 100% sense to me. So we kind of wanted to be able to offer all these options even before we were forced to do it. We just kind of got it thrust upon us a little bit before we were quite ready. So I guess for us, it was kind of a awakening that we needed.
And what were some of the quick action items that you had to go look for or get in order to make sure that your employees were able to work from home?
Well, we needed to be able to make sure that all employees had the ability to continue to handle phone calls, accept phone calls, and communicate not just with one another, but also with clients and insurance companies and different people, lawyers, people we deal with. But of course, you have the issue, nobody ever wants to use their home phone for that. They don't want people having their personal phone number, their personal cell phone number. You don't want an adjuster calling you at night to talk about a case when you're clocked out or whatever. And so you had to figure out how to connect everybody through a system that enabled them to still operate like an office, even though they weren't there, which is a software issue. But then you also had the hardware issues and the various issues that related to the equipment involved, because not everybody had a home computer that was set up to do web meetings. So we had both the hardware issue and the software issue to deal with. So the first thing I did was I kind of got online, started looking, and I found where I could pick up some just some refurbished webcams in bulk and issue those out to people who didn't have computers with webcams on them but had a system that would operate otherwise. We issued a lot of the laptops that we had at the work to different personnel who needed them, who didn't have a home computer that they could work on. And we just kind of did a team-wide check to make sure everyone had a way to get in touch with each other and communicate with each other. Then the second thing we had to do was the software side of it. And so we, to a certain degree, we had to turn to you guys for that. You guys helped us put in a system, the Avaya Cloud Office system, which is a system that enables an office to effectively operate from the cloud. Literally are able to have a receptionist sit at home, take phone calls through her computer, and then turn around and transfer those to different individuals as they need to be through the entire firm. And when we have an office of 35 people, that's a pretty big feat to accomplish. But
oh yes,
she's now able to do that seamlessly as if she was sitting right there in the main office, and we're able to receive those calls. If we can even check the number and see if we recognize it and that sort of thing. But we also have a way to communicate with each other through that system where we can message each other or call each other directly. And I find that handy when I get a message from a client and I need to talk to an assistant who's working on the file. I'll just message her and say, hey, here's what I got going on, And so that was a big solution for us that helped us operate as an office remotely.
And that's something that definitely came ahead of all of this, in the sense of the idea of we want a phone system that should be mobile, that could move with us, came before any of this started to happen.
Right. Now we had the system put in. We just had never gotten around to truly figuring out how to make it work as a remote system because we'd never had to before. Right? We never thought of the idea of saying, hey, we're going to have the receptionist work from home or something like that. And that was just not something that crossed our minds. So we had to kind of pick up and have you guys help to come in and make sure that was working. We had the system working on everyone's computer so that it could operate that way. The second thing we had to do was we had certain people that had to remote access stuff to be able to get stuff in the office. So we had you guys kind of set up remote access for the people who needed it and get that system. And then, of course, we had to add software. Generally, we spent a while. I had worked with Skype in the past, which is now Microsoft Teams.
Right.
But we had that system kind of installed, but nobody had really been using it for much more than an office communication, like an email platform almost, or a messaging platform. And so nobody really knew how to do the video, and nobody had done that kind of stuff. And when this started firing up, we started looking at those options, and then somebody said, well, maybe you should consider going to Zoom. And I started noticing I'm getting all these emails from dentists and doctors and everyone else going, hey, schedule a Zoom appointment with us now.
Yeah, schedule Zoom. So what have been some of the benefits that you've seen with using Zoom?
Well, apparently connectivity with Facebook's not one of their strong points, but other than that, the nice thing about Zoom is we've been able to use it now. The courts themselves are even using it to conduct hearings. They're using it to conduct non-jury trials, which makes it really important that you be familiar with and able to use it. The nice thing is that Zoom is pretty easy to use. You can get on it. You can get an account. Only one person has to have an account. They can send out a notice, an invite. And that can even be a free account. It just you just have to have one person who has an account on the system in order to send out an invite and start a meeting. Now, if that meeting's going to go longer than 40 minutes, they have to have a paid account, but I think mine cost me about $15 a month, the one that I went with. And it's been handy because we've used it for firm-wide meetings. We used it to do a Bible study earlier today. Yesterday we used it, and we actually recorded it and posted it on our Facebook. Thank you to all the workers with about 25 different employees of ours all on the screen saying thank you to different types of workers who are out there fighting for us during this COVID-19 battle. And so it was a really neat tool for that.
Oh, that is awesome. It's a tool that helps you guys keep your culture together as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we can communicate with each other and do our kind of, all the stuff we did at the office now, but still do it from our home. So it's been really handy. And then, in fact, I started getting so many questions about it. I created a video and posted it on my my YouTube website, which is just my personal YouTube. And it kind of instructs other lawyers how to do it. And we shared that around in some of the lawyer circles on the Facebook groups for lawyers online. And then it's had a really good response. Everyone's been like, thank you, because there were so many people we found out that just were like us. They were like, we know we
How
need
do I
to do
use this thing?
I'll learn it sometime. I'm just not ready to do it now. And suddenly now said you're doing it now,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I will post that on our Facebook as well. That way, if anyone watching this or hearing this is wanting to find out more about that, then I'll go ahead and share that as well. So what advice would you give to anyone, either a business or another law firm that is going through something like this or is about to go through something like this?
Well, the change isn't as scary as it seems it would be. If you have a good technical support team or IT department that's going to do the work for you, it's nice. It's nice having a team like SabinoCompTech that actually have the ability to remote access your computers and fix problems. You give them permission, they can remote access take care of the setup, so you're not trying to figure out how to do all the settings, and once you mess it up they can fix it for you, that kind of stuff. But it's really handy because they could jump on and help each individual employee get their specific system set up versus everyone trying to figure out, okay, now how do we interpret that instruction for a Mac, and how do we interpret this instruction for a PC, and everyone trying to figure it out on its own. So you've got to have a good IT department and or technical support team of some kind, and as long as you've got them in place, Zoom is pretty easy. That's the easy part. I wouldn't have had the first clue as to where to go with the Avaya system and how to set all that stuff up. That you better have some professionals involved in, but it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it because it's now given us the option of looking at it going, hey, do we really even need everybody in this office all the time, or can we have a work from home option even after all this comes to a conclusion? So.
Yeah, which is something that I've heard plenty of businesses talk about in the sense of this event changing the landscape of business and how much office space is necessary and things like that. So do you think that this will actually change how work is done?
I think there's going to be some changes. I think, the thing with this virus is we don't know how long it's going to be before we're really get back to a hopefully normal situation again of some sort. I think that mankind is going to rise up and defeat this thing like we've done with so many other viruses and diseases and things. But it takes time. You've got some great researchers out there working on it. They're doing amazing things in the science side of it. They're going to, I have faith in them. They're going to come out with something eventually, but is it 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months? We don't really know. So there's going to be some changes here that have to be made, at least for the short term, as far as how business is conducted all around. Obviously, we've all kind of learned that. But I think there's going to be a long-term difference at the end of this thing. We had even the president was on a week or so ago, I guess he was, talking about how, this thing's over. There's going to be some effects on the economy. There's going to be probably a depression a bit that comes along, a recession that comes along, and as a result of the lag here and some of the businesses that couldn't make it through all this sort of stuff, there's going to be a downside to this, and everybody's going to be looking for ways to save money and cut costs. And, we had all these businesses that were afraid to make the jump. Well, now they've been forced to make the jump. So they've incurred the costs, they've incurred the time, they've converted over to the ability to work from home. Some of them are going to look at it and go, we don't have to keep paying this high rent. We can have these people work from home and still have a way to keep track of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very true. And that's actually, I hadn't asked you this or thought about this until now, but that's something that I've heard from plenty of businesses also is how do you keep track of all of your employees when they are working from home? Are there metrics that you're looking at that signal to you like the work that we need to be doing is getting done?
Well, we've always had a reporting system that track, the productivity of the employees in general. I mean, because we're a law firm, we can see how many cases have been moved from one status to the next and that sort of thing. And so that level of tracking was always there. But the nice thing about kind of the technology that that we have between the Avaya system and Zoom, I think both are very useful for that. Avaya system, basically you can look at a list of who's online, and it has a red light or a green light next to their name, and that tells you, are they logged in and online? The same thing with Zoom. If you have all your employees in your list, I've had some difficulties with Zoom. My business list for some reason disappeared about 4 days ago, and it hasn't come back. Makes it a lot harder to do there, but I still have some of the contacts in a different area, just kind of in my cloud area, and it'll show me if they're on Zoom or not. So you can simply put in a policy and say, when you're working, we want you to have one of these systems on, so that anybody can look and see that your light is on, and anyone can tap on your name and send a message and say, hey, what are you doing? And if they don't get an answer, they know you're not really sitting there. You're just left the light on and left the desk. We've been blessed with some really great employees that we don't have those kind of issues with, but it's nice to know that ability is there. And there's still some upper management in every business that like to have that security of knowing, I need to reach this person, they're still at my fingertips, you know. And we all got our right-hand man, right? Or our right-hand woman, whichever it may be. And there's times when I go, I need to talk to this person now, boom, and I can do it. And it's very handy. So
good. You can keep that same feeling of the immediacy of, hey, you're right there, even if you're not in the same office.
Exactly. And I don't have to walk down the hall of their office now either.
That's true. It's one of the easier things. Well, the last time that we talked, I thought, you know, one of the things that you had mentioned was that making it easier for everybody to transition by not trying to put in place a bunch of different things. And so I thought that that was some great advice to people that are making a transition, where if you don't have some of these things in place, doing the easiest thing is to just add one thing. So if you don't have video conferencing, using something that you already know or are familiar with, or that other people know and are familiar with, would be a great easing into throwing in something new.
Right. And I think we had talked about that in the context of, because of the fact that so many people, well, what we were seeing is a lot of other companies going to Zoom for different things. And because they were going to that, a lot of the consumers were going to use it, even if they weren't using it with you. They're going to use it for their dentist or their doctor or their pediatrician or whoever. Yeah. And so from that perspective, having a tool that everyone else is already learning is going to give you an advantage, because at the end of the day, when all this is gone and people are calling your office going, hey, I wanted to, I want to do a Zoom conference real quick, because they're familiar with it now and they've used it and it feels natural to them. If you say, oh, I don't have that, but we could go to a different type of conference, or we could do this instead, a lot of them are going, no, I'll just find somebody that has it already, because they're comfortable with it. And people don't like change in general if they don't have to, you know? So
that's true. So what advice would you give to law firms that are trying to stay put in the sense of technology use? And would you say that the technology, because of everything that's going on right now, that the technology that is being put in place in order to get us through this period in time is necessary for them to continue to do business going in the future?
Absolutely. And it kind of ties into what we talked about just then, is that everyone else is making that movement to this, whether they're your clients or they're your future clients or they're your business partner, or not partners, but your business contacts. People are starting to use Zoom and video conferencing and similar formats of some kind as a way of modern communication now. It's becoming the norm for communication. And that's thinking that when this thing is over, all that's just going to go away and you're not going to have to ever learn it, or you're not going to ever have to get to know it. It's kind of like the way the Yellow Pages felt about the internet coming along, I'm sure, or the newspapers felt about the internet coming along. They all hoped that it was a fad and it would go away, but now they're all becoming obsolete because nobody needs to go pick up a newspaper when they can look at it on their iPhone. We're an information society and it's all in my fingertips. Why in the world do I want to have to drive across town to see you, or go buy a newspaper to find the news, or, I can Google anything. Why do I need the yellow pages? And so you're going to be the yellow pages if you keep that attitude.
Or a Blockbuster. Don't be a Blockbuster. Be a Netflix.
Yes, there you go. I was totally shocked when Blockbuster died out, but
it becomes inconvenient now that we know something better.
Yep, exactly.
Well, awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this. I think it would be very helpful to other businesses and law firms alike, especially those that are trying not to change with the times, but the times are saying it's time to change.
Amen to that.
Wait, if anyone needs to contact Paul, how can they reach out to you?
Our firm is still open using the same number we've always used, 713-932-0777, or they can email me at pcannon@simmonsandfletcher.com.
Perfect. And then you can also follow them on Facebook, Instagram,
YouTube,
Twitter, all the socials. They're omni-social, moving along with the times.
Trying, or being pushed along by them sometimes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Paul, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.